So you are feeling overwhelmed by everything people is telling you to buy before your baby arrives. Well, these are my 10 baby essential list, the must-haves and the basics that you need to get going. Everything else is just nice to have. And I'm going to kick off with the very first thing, and that is to get your hands free. It's a baby carrier. It doesn't have to be the specific one that is more a wrap than a baby carrier, but anything where you can put the baby in, keep them skin to skin, they absolutely love it, and you get a chance to have your hands free to either make something to eat, make a cup of tea, or just not use your hands for 5 minutes. There are so many types of carriers and wraps. I'm not going to bore you with getting a specific brand. I'm just going to show you how nicely it can work with a carrier that I used. When my babies were small, I could fit both of them in here as twins, but as I got a little bit bigger, it was difficult, so I could only fit in one baby, and then I transitioned to a twin carrier because that was just easier. But this one was a lifesaver in the beginning. So this is a local wrap that I have. Look, but some babies don't like carriers. Unfortunately, they're not all the same. You can then look at something like a pram. You get very small, compact kind of prams that you can take even on an aeroplane. I've never used it because I don't have them in like twin sizes, but they looked amazing and so easy to transport around. Some babies like both, so you can have a carrier or wrap and you can have a pram. Some babies really don't like the carrier for whatever reason, and you can put them in a pram. Any kind of motion puts them to sleep. Then, big thing, you need a comfy place to sit and feed your baby. Whether you are breastfeeding or whether you are bottle feeding, you're going to be doing this a lot, up to 8 to 12 times a day in the beginning. So you need to get comfy, otherwise your back is going to be killing you. Follow me. Right, then let's move to a safe place to sleep. Babies need to be on a firm mattress, so you get these newborn mattresses with the holes in it. Those are ideal in case the baby ends up in a compromised position with their face on the mattress. The whole point of the holes in these mattresses are for babies to be able to still get some flow of oxygen if they end up in a compromised position. But ideally, we don't want them to end up in that position, so we're going to keep them on a flat surface with nothing loose in the cot. No fluffies, no cute bunnies, no cot bumpers. That is actually a risk for suffocation for babies, even if it looks so cute and you think you don't want them to bump their heads. It can be risky for babies, so alone on their back, asleep in the cot. If you have a camping cot next to your bed, that's fine. Anywhere where the baby is sleeping, where you are not constantly supervising the baby, needs to be a flat, firm surface. And at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about the 3 things that you need to be very cautious about. And one of it is where a baby should not be sleeping unsupervised. But I'm going to get to that later. Okay, next up, baby monitor. So in the beginning, the baby is hopefully in your room. The WHO, the World Health Organization, recommends that babies sleep in your room until at least 6 months of age. So you will be right next to your baby, but sometimes you won't be, like at night. Perhaps you put your baby down and you go and eat supper, or you go and express, or you're just not in the room all the time with your baby, which is perfectly normal. How do you know if something is bothering your baby? How can you hear if you don't have anything right there? So you get monitors with only audio noises. And then you get monitors that can link to your phone. You get very nice apps and things these days. And it can also show you a video, either on your phone, or you get an actual little monitor with a video. You can see your baby and you can hear your baby. If you have a sleep apnea monitor, it's either a sleeping pad or some of these things that you can clip onto the nappy, then you will be able to hear that alarm also via the monitor. I would not have a day's rest without a baby monitor, because that way I knew that if there's anything up, I will be able to hear them. Okay, bottles. Even if you are planning to exclusively breastfeed, it is always a good idea to have a backup bottle. You can buy one or you can buy a pack of 2. Just have some kind of backup. You never know if you are in a situation where someone emergency maybe needs to feed the baby. Maybe there's something happening to you, or you get stuck somewhere at the bank, or you need to feed the baby yourself. So example, my twins were breastfed for the first couple of months, and around 3 months old, one of them went on a nursing strike. Now, I don't know if you know that this is a thing. I knew about it, but I didn't think that would actually happen to me. She would flat out refuse to take the breast. Exclusively breastfed until that point, and she flat out refused. And I ended up having to breastfeed the one, pump, and then feed this one with a bottle because she just refused. No, I'm not saying that's going to happen to you. It's just you have to have some kind of backup in case of an emergency. You might never use it. And if you end up using it, please make sure you get a proper bottle brush. Don't use the normal brush that you use for all of your other dishes. There's a lot of gunk that's stuck in those bottles. Get a brush that's only meant for bottles. Next up, breathable blankets. And I'm not talking about the nice fleecy ones that are so warm in winter. I'm talking about blankets to swaddle your baby in. You cannot swaddle a baby in a blanket that is not breathable. If the baby somehow manages to pull the blanket over the face, you want that blanket to be breathable so that there can still be a flow of air. These blankets are normally like the cotton blankets, muslin blankets, and they allow a lot of airflow through the blanket, and they are perfect to swaddle your baby in. They're also multi-purpose. You can either cover your baby lightly over the waist if you don't want to swaddle them and they like to have their arms open. You can actually swaddle with them. You can watch this video here on different ways how you can swaddle your baby, and you can even use them if you sit outside in the shade and you put a little blanket on the grass and you want your baby to just lie there and get some good vitamin D. Then, burping cloths. I cannot go without a burping cloth. And I'm not talking about these big old school kind of white cloths that we use each corner on a different time of the day, and by the end of the day everything smells like sour milk. I'm talking about the very nice modern burp cloth that's just about this big. That's just something small that you can put over your shoulder. If I can get it out of my packet here, it looks like this. You put it over your shoulder and you can put the baby on your shoulder. If you're burping your baby by letting them sit up, this works just as well, and I do have a video on ways to burp your baby right here too. This one is maybe a little bit unusual, but go with me on this. You need a clean spot to change a nappy. You think about changing a nappy, okay, there's no funny thing to it, you're just going to change the nappy. But it needs to be a spot where your baby is safe, that if you have to turn away and get something, the baby can't fall off anywhere. And if they inevitably make a mess, can you clean it up? So, a changing pad, you get many changing pads. I'm just showing you one example, which is a washable one. A lot of them are a lot harder, so you have to kind of more wipe them than wash them. They don't really fit well in the washing machine. They're meant for wiping, so it's more a plasticky feel. Sometimes it's a bit cold for the baby, which is why I like this one, because it's got more material to it. So if you put a baby down, you don't need an extra cloth or towel on the changing pad before you change the nappy. A lot of the changing pads are plastic, purely for this purpose of cleaning them, but then you have to put something over as well. Doesn't matter where you change the baby. You don't necessarily need a fancy compactum in the nursery. You can change them on the floor. You can change them on your bed, on a cot in their room. You can change them anywhere as long as it's a flat surface and the baby is safe and they can't roll off and you can reach comfortably. Okay, and then this one, most important thing for me, get hand sanitizer, more than one bottle in your house. It is not only for when visitors come over and you want them to wash your hands before they pick up the baby. That is absolutely crucial. Please take my advice on this. People need to wash their hands before they touch your baby. But it's easy for you because sometimes you need to wash your hands and you can't leave the baby alone to go and wash your hands. Now, wet wipes are great, but sometimes it just doesn't feel like it's enough. And with twins, I had 2 changing pads next to each other, and in between changing nappies, I obviously want to wash my hands, but I couldn't take both of them off at the same time, wash my hands, come back. It's a lot of effort. So I had a hospital grade hand sanitizer. It's like 70% alcohol that I always had. So when I changed the one, I would scrub my hands, but sanitize properly, then change the other one, then put them down safely, and then I'll wash my hands again afterwards. But please, babies are so susceptible to anything around us. We need to keep them as safe as possible. And you also don't want to sit with things on your hands after you change the nappy and then you go and eat something. Bonus tip, a baby tracker app is really nice so that they track many things like sleep, nappies, which breast you fed on, how long you fed, how long did the baby sleep, when last did they have a dirty nappy or a wet nappy. It's actually really nice, and if you are very sleep deprived, it helps. If you wake up, feed the baby, you can have a notepad or you put it on a nap and you just enter the date, the time, and the next time, if you don't know, you can see, oh, last time I fed on the left side, so this time I'm going to feed on the right side. Or, oh wow, baby didn't have a dirty nappy in 2 days, but it's a breast baby, so I'm not worried. Or it's a formula baby, maybe baby is a little bit constipated, let me do something about it. So this is a local wrap that I have. Any kind of wrap that you have is going to take some kind of learning curve, so I'm not even going to bother showing you how to put this one on because there's way too many out there. Follow the instructions. Okay, so I'm going to put this one on here. This one crisscrosses over my back, and then it crisscrosses over here as well. So when I have my baby, I'm going to go in feet first with this one. Some of them have space for the legs to come out. That's more the baby carriers. But the wraps, you can fold the baby's legs inside, but I like to let their legs hang out, then you know they're not in some funny position that's going to bother them. So first the one in, and then the other wrap over on this side. Baby's hands, wherever you want the hands to be. And then the head needs to turn out to the side. Remember, never let the baby sleep like this because they won't be able to breathe nicely. You want to turn them out. This looks very loose, but that is because this is supposed to wrap over my shoulder. Like I said, it comes with some kind of degree sometimes. You see, then this is already more comfy. And there's this little wrap that also works as like a bag for the actual carrier, which is quite nice. You can see, wrap it there under the bum. You twist it. This is now this wrap. And then you can just like tie it here on the side. And now we get to tucking in. So you want to pull this over, but this keeps sliding off unless you do it properly. Like over time you get quite comfy with it. The baby, you need to be able to kiss the baby on the top of the head. Mwah, done, sorted. And then you can take one of the wraps to cover the baby's head like that. Nice and tight. There's a little hand there so that if you move, the baby's head won't fall. Okay, so I've got hands free. I can do whatever I need to do here. My back is supported by these crisscross things. Most carriers have a nice back support, but it can get a little bit straining on the back as they get bigger. You can see feet are not here. I'm trying, there we go, to feel. You can see both feet are here. Bums, it needs to support the bums nicely. The baby needs to like kind of hang in it. That's what's happening here. Arms are here, baby's face is out. I can touch the top of the baby's head. And then these three things are the things that you need to be really cautious about, and you don't want to leave your baby unsupervised. You can use it, but please be careful about it. The very first thing is what I mentioned in the beginning. When baby is sleeping and rockers or swings, babies fall asleep with motion. They love it. So they will go back and forth and back and forth, and they can sleep there for quite some time. But if you remember, I said babies need to be on a flat surface on their back. The reason for this is to keep the airway open at all times. So the moment a baby is in something that is curved, a car seat for too long, not the trip from the hospital home, but you know, taking a long trip for like 2 or 3 hours, you need to supervise that baby. Anything with a curvature, a swing, a rocker, has the potential of getting the baby in a compromised position where they don't have a straight airway and they bend forward and it can block the airway and it's actually a suffocation risk. The same goes with these kind of sleep pods that you get where the baby has a little side around to not roll off anywhere, or they have a band over the middle of this sleeping nest to prevent them from rolling over. But babies do move. Newborns can move, they wiggle. It doesn't prevent them from sliding up or down and getting to a point where the band is maybe covering their face. All these very nice sleeping nests also doesn't prevent them from ending up in a position where they might be turning their face into the side of this nest and they can't breathe well. At any point, what we want to do is to protect the airway and keep it open. And the last thing is a mosquito net. If you're in a very hot pod in your country, you might be tempted to get a mosquito net. So this is more for babies that are a little bit older and who move around more and can roll over, but mosquito nets are a strangulation risk. So you should only use that if you can see on a monitor where the baby is lying and where the mosquito net is, and if you go to sleep, that mosquito net should not be over the baby's bed unless it is securely tied down, because as babies move, they might pull a part of the mosquito net either from the top or from the side, and they hold on to it, and they might be rolling over, and they might end up in a position where they're strangling themselves. And that is why mosquito nets are quite controversial, because you don't want your babies attacked by mosquitoes, but there's a big risk to it. You do get safer options like mosquito, I want to call it tents, where you can put a baby in and they are securely protected from mosquitoes, but there's no risk of strangulation. Then you can look into one of those things. So which ones do you already have, or which ones can you add to the list? And while you're here, I've got another video that I think you would like to see. Check it out here.